Well, welcome to this session on the Islamic solution to the current Middle East crisis and the beginning of part 2 of our 4-part study. Let's quickly review the key points set forth on this slide. The family feud begins between the Jews and the Arabs as noted in Genesis 21 verse 10. Hatred of Jews by the Islamic extremists is a religious cause. The return of the Jews to the Promised Land in 1948 is considered an invasion of the land that the Palestinians believe should belong to them. The Islamic extremist solution to the Middle East crisis is to annihilate Israel and take over the land held by the Jews. Now, the Palestine Liberation Organization, or the PLO, is using the current roadmap to peace process to bring the downfall of Israel. The PLO does not just want a piece of Israel in which to form their Palestinian state, but they want the entire land now occupied by Israel, and for Israel to be totally annihilated. Let's talk about the present battle for Jerusalem, which is really the centerfold of the roadmap to peace process. It began in the fall of 2002, presented by what the media calls the Quartet Group. The Quartet Group consists of 4 entities: the U.S., Russia, Europe, and the United Nations. There are 3 stages in this roadmap for peace initiative. The Quartet believes this initiative will solve the conflict between Israel and the PLO and result in the creation of a Palestinian state that will exist peacefully beside the nation of Israel. Now, the first stage of the roadmap for peace requires Israel to withdraw from Gaza. Now, we've seen that happen before your eyes on the evening television news. The second stage is that Israel will withdraw from the West Bank. And the third stage is a requirement for Israel to give a portion of Jerusalem to the Arabs as a capital for the new Palestinian state. Now, Islamic fundamentalists have no history of honoring any peace agreement, such as the 1993 Oslo agreement between Israel and the PLO. They're using the roadmap for peace process as a weapon of war. They want peace with Israel, one piece at a time. Now they have Gaza and the West Bank. And the ultimate plum is the city of Jerusalem, which they will make the capital city for a Palestinian state whose objective will be the destruction of Israel. The PLO is currently at civil war level of fighting between the PLO Hamas faction and the PLO Fatah group over who will control the PLO. Now, if the Hamas faction wins, then the roadmap for peace process will be further delayed. Terrorist activity against Israel will significantly increase. Now, the battle for Jerusalem has already begun, and Israel, desperate for peace, is negotiating itself into the greatest future war Israel has ever seen. This final war, known as the Battle of Armageddon, will affect every nation on earth, including America, and will affect every person on planet Earth. The roadmap for peace is an ill-conceived initiative, one that has Israel giving up Gaza, the West Bank, and part of Jerusalem. It clearly violates the Word of God. Well, how so? In Joel 3:2, God says, "I will also gather all nations," and of course this will include what remains of America at the time of this war, "and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will enter into judgment with them there on account of my people, the Jews, my heritage Israel, because they have divided up my promised land." Now, when America forced Israel to give up Gaza recently, it was clearly violating Joel 3:2. We're giving the enemies of Israel the high ground in the coming war for Israel's survival. It's time our national leaders in Washington stop this madness. It's obvious that most of our national leaders do not understand God's plan for the final days on this earth. Israel should not give another inch of land to the Palestinians until every terrorist organization operating under the Palestinian covering lays down their weapons of war and prove they are willing to live in peace, side by side with the state of Israel. Now, the Palestinians should revise their charter, which calls for the utter destruction of Israel. Jerusalem is not to be divided again for any reason, regardless of the requirements of the road for a peace initiative. Only God himself can settle this matter between the Jews and the Arabs, and he will, when the upcoming Ezekiel option occurs. Now, we'll cover the Ezekiel option in a future session. Until then, the 4,000-year-old family feud will continue. And before we move on to slide 6 and look at how the British set up the Middle East crisis, are there any discussions?